we were talking about before about the process and structure you need to utilize to not only lose weight, but actually hold that weight off. And the most important part, becoming the person that holds that weight off. You've got a lot of, stories you get told about people losing weight and then gaining it all back, and it being like a non-sustainable process. And I think once you hear me more and more, you start to recognize that I'm all about tangibility. I'm all about like, hey, like instead of just arbitrary words like unsustainable, it's like, oh, why was it unsustainable? Was it because you just ate 1,000 calories a day and inevitably you had to lose weight because you're eating so little? Like make it more specific. So it's like, that's why understanding the process, it's so important, and understanding who you were and who you're trying to become and the process that gets you from A to B is so important. So a huge conversation that's been happening lately is Ozempic or Mounjaro or those weight loss drugs. Do they work? Yeah, of course they work. I've seen so many of my clients use them. I've seen so many other coaches' clients use them. Are they effective in keeping the weight off? No. Like at the end of the day, you're like, if you look at weight loss, like I keep saying, it's an identity thing. You start to identify the only way to lose weight is by taking this Ozempic, inevitably losing weight because you're no longer hungry. And so what do you get out of not learning on how to deal with hunger is that every time you're hungry after the drug, you then eat and then you gain it all back. Is that the only reason why people gain weight? No, definitely not. They start to recognize that. They start to associate food as, oh, I don't want to eat it, because that drug allows you to not be hungry anymore. That drug actually makes food not taste great. And you start to then rely on this drug and then you gain it all back. And so what I've seen, not very often, is one of my clients is that they've lost the weight through utilizing their drug, but they've tracked their steps and they've tracked their calories throughout the process, and they know how much weight they lost every day, and they knew how much steps they took every day, and they knew how much food they ate every day. And it's not even every day. Like, people need to understand, when it comes to tracking, it doesn't need to be every day, but it needs to be at least an amount in which you can start to recognize patterns. So if you're weighing yourself every day, congratulations, good on you. If you're weighing yourself at least 3 times a week, start of the week, middle of the week, the end of the week, you start to recognize a pattern there. You start to recognize your energy levels. You start to recognize patterns in which you go, oh, when I'm hungry, I do this. When I'm full, this is the food that I ate. So what is the difference between Ozempic and actually facilitating a structure and a process in which you can rock up more consistently and actually lose the weight and then keep it off, is the habits between the two. So right now, your baseline of who you are, how you look at food, your education towards food, your process towards eating when you're hungry, in contrast to eating throughout your meals, time management between work, eating and not eating when you're busy, et cetera, to who you are now, where you're like, okay, I now know that when I get hungry, it's probably because the food I ate wasn't filling enough. It's probably because I didn't eat a certain meal and therefore I'm going to be hungry. And so once you start tracking this stuff, the people that are in a process-oriented approach in which they learn how they are and who they are throughout the process, inevitably keep their weight off. The difference between Ozempic users and those who are not using Ozempic and have a structured approach know who they are. That's it. They know how they deal with the difficult parts of weight loss, which is the tiredness, which is the hunger, which is the conversations with friends, the social gatherings, the saying no more than yes. Those who use Ozempic can just be like they don't look at food, they just like converse with their friends, they go out and they don't even look at food. Those who are going through the journey have to constantly be proactive and go, hey, I'm going to go to a party, what do I do to mitigate myself from eating too excessively? Do I eat beforehand? Do I only eat protein? Or do I budget my calories so that if I do eat quote unquote excessively at this party, I've mitigated that excess calories by eating less throughout the week?